अथाष्टमोऽध्यायः। अर्जुन उवाच किं तद्ब्रह्म किमध्यात्मम् किं कर्म पुरुषोत्तम अधिभूतं च किं प्रोक्तम् अधिदैवं किमुच्यते अधियज्ञः कथं कोऽत्र देहेऽस्मिन् मधुसूदन प्रयाणकाले च कथं ज्ञेयोऽसि नियतात्मभिः। श्रीभगवानुवाच अक्षरं ब्रह्म परमं स्वभावोऽध्यात्ममुच्यते भूतभावोद्भवकरो विसर्गः कर्मसंज्ञितः अधिभूतं क्षरो भावः पुरुषश्चाधिदैवतम् अधियज्ञोऽहमेवात्र देहे देहभृतां वर अन्तकाले च मामेव स्मरन् मुक्त्वा कलेवरम् यः प्रयाति समद्भावम् याति नास्त्यत्र संशयः यं यं वापि स्मरन् भावं त्यजत्यन्ते कलेवरं तं तमेवैति कौन्तेय सदा तद्भावभावितः। तस्मात् सर्वेषु कालेषु मामनुस्मर युध्य च मय्यर्पितमनो बुद्धिर्मामे वैश्यस्य संशयः अभ्यासयोगयुक्तेन चेतसा नान्यगामिना परमं पुरुषं दिव्यं याति पार्थानुचिन्तयन् कविं पुराणम् अनुशासितारम् अणोरणीयां समनुस्मरेद्यः सर्वस्य धातारमचिन्त्य रूपम् आदित्यवर्णं तमसः परस्तात् प्रयाणकाले मनसाचलेन भक्त्या युक्तो योगबलेन चैव भ्रुवोर्मध्ये प्राणमावेश्य सम्यक् सतं परं पुरुषमुपैति दिव्यम् यदक्षरं वेदविदो वदन्ति विशन्ति यद्यतयो वीतरागाः यदिच्छन्तो ब्रह्मचर्यं चरन्ति तत्ते पदं संग्रहेण प्रवक्ष्ये सर्वद्वाराणि संयम्य मनोहृदि निरुध्य च मूर्ध्याध्यायात्मनः प्राणम् आस्थितो योगधारणाम् ओमित्येकाक्षरं ब्रह्म व्याहरन् मामनुस्मरन् यः प्रयाति त्यजन् देहं स याति परमां गतिम् अनन्यचेताः सततं यो मां स्मरति नित्यशः तस्याहं सुलभः पार्थ नित्ययुक्तस्य योगिनः मामुपेत्य पुनर्जन्म दुःखालयमशाश्वतम् नाप्नुवन्ति महात्मानः संसिद्धिं परमां गताः ब्रह्मभुवनालोकाः पुनरावर्तिनोऽर्जुन मामुपेत्य तु कौन्तेय पुनर्जन्म न विद्यते सहस्रयुगपर्यन्तम् अहद्यद्ब्रह्मणो विदुः रात्रिं युगसहस्रान्तां ते अव्यक्तयः सर्वाः प्रभवन्त्यः रागमे रात्र्यागमे प्रलीयन्ते तत्रैवाव्यक्तसंज्ञके भूतग्रामः स एवायम् भूत्वा भूत्वा प्रलीयते रात्र्यागमे वशः पार्थ प्रभवत्यः रागमे परस्तस्मात्तु भावोऽन्यो व्यक्तो व्यक्तात् सनातनः यः स सर्वेषु भूतेषु नश्यत्सु न विनश्यति अव्यक्तोऽक्षर इत्युक्तः तमाहुः परमां गतिम् यं प्राप्य न निवर्तन्ते तद्धाम परमं मम पुरुषः स परः पार्थ भक्त्या लभ्यस्त्वनन्यया यस्यान्तस्थानि भूतानि येन सर्वमिदं ततम् यत्र काले त्वनावृत्तिम् आवृत्तिं चैव योगिनः प्रयाता यान्ति तं कालम् वक्ष्यामि भरतर्षभ अग्निर्ज्योतिरः शुक्लः षण्मासा उत्तरायणम् तत्र प्रयाता गच्छन्ति ब्रह्मविदो जनाः धूमो रात्रिस्तथा कृष्णः षण्मासा दक्षिणायनम् तत्र चान्द्रमसं ज्योतिर्योगी प्राप्य निवर्तते शुक्लकृष्णे गतिहेते जगतः शाश्वते मते एकया यात्यनावृत्तिम् अन्यया वर्तते पुनः नैते श्रुति पार्थ जानन् योगी मुह्यति कश्चन तस्मात् सर्वेषु कालेषु योगयुक्तो भवार्जुन वेदेषु यज्ञेषु तपस्सु चैव दानेषु यत्पुण्यफलं प्रदिष्टम् अत्येति तत्सर्वमिदं विदित्वा योगी परं स्थानमुपैति चाद्यम् ॐ तत्सदिति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासूपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे अक्षरब्रह्मयोगो नाम अष्टमोऽध्यायः।
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Krishna. So I welcome you all for today's Gita Sandesh program. So let us do take the holy name by doing kirtan for a few minutes. Hare Krishna. So once again, thank you all, Ashok Prabhu, Gopi Prabhu, Pavan Prabhu, Raghunath Puri Prabhu, Puja Prabhu, Puja Mataji. Thank you very much. I got your reflections. Thank you very much, Puja Mataji, and also other Matajis and Prabhujis. So let's get started. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nite Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatarishatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Bhaktavrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopal Jaya Jaya Radharamana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopal Jaya Jaya Radharamana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopal Jaya Jaya Radharamana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Govinda 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. All of you, one last time with all your heart. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय। मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं तत्कृपाय तमहं वन्दे परमानंद माधवं श्री चैतन्यमीश्वरम्। हरे कृष्ण। So I welcome you all once again for this wonderful course, which is a course which is opening up the prospects where we can go by end of this life, and also in our next life, what kind of a life we can get. That prospects is what we are getting revealed as part of this beautiful course called Gita Sandesh, and we are in the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Attaining the Supreme. So as part of that, what all we have discussed, we can quickly go through that. And before we go, let us also do the Mangala Charana, invoking the auspiciousness and the mercy of the Supreme Lord and all the senior Vaishnavas, so that we can get this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita and we can get the drop of bhakti in our life. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरो वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजना सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचना गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So what is the link between the previous chapter and this chapter? Let us quickly go through that. So we have been seen in the previous chapter that hearing is the way that you can go about and know about the Supreme Lord, and that's the basis for our starting our journey, our spiritual journey. So that is what we have seen. And we have seen that there are 6 stages of bhakti. And and how does this first stage starts? Can somebody put it on chat? How does your journey starts? Your bhakti journey starts. Anybody? Give me 1 second. Let me also share the screen. Probably I have not been sharing the screen. Okay, here it is. Sorry for that. Okay. Okay, thank you, Usha Mataji, Jyoti Mataji, Kandupuri Sandhya Mataji. Listen to Guru Gopi Prabhu. Thank you. Yeah. Yes. So it all starts. Our spiritual journey starts. Our bhakti journey starts with Shrunu. And what you need to hear, you need to hear about the Supreme Lord. You are supposed to hear from the bona fide spiritual master, and also from Vaishnavas who are having the knowledge and experiential knowledge about the Supreme Lord. So from that kind of sources we need to hear. So as we said, what happens when we hear about Krishna? So that is the next thing that we discussed, that what happens when we hear about Krishna. So when we hear about Krishna, we will know about Krishna. And in the previous chapter, we knew about Krishna's material and spiritual energies. And these material energies also include his 3 modes of material nature, which are binding us to be in this material world. And Krishna also says that Mama Maya Durattaya. That means this particular Maya of me is very difficult. And what is the way to come out of this Maya? Can somebody tell me? How can I come out of this Maya? What Krishna recommended us to do? Yeah? Okay. What else? How can I come out of this Maya? Chanting. Okay. What else? Okay. Bhakti, Krishna consciousness. So many things. Yes. I'm looking for one word. Okay. Knowledge. So when you take the shelter of Krishna, taking the shelter of Krishna means you can surrender to Krishna. When you surrender to Krishna, you will be able to overcome or transcend these material modes. Unless and until you surrender to Krishna, the material modes will keep on bothering you. You will be tied up in this particular material world forever. So the only way is to surrender to Krishna. And later on, Krishna said that there are 4 categories of people who would surrender to him, and there are 4 kinds of people who will never surrender to him. And that is where he talked about 4 kinds of people: Muda, the grossly foolish people, and he talked about Naradhamas, who are lowest among the mankind, and he talked about Maya Praharta Gnana. So those people who are having the knowledge but stolen by illusion. And the last category of people called Asura Bhavas Ashrita. So these are the 4 kinds of people, who are atheistic kinds of people, and demonic nature kind of people, the last category, will never come to what do you say, and they will never surrender to Krishna. Now, this is all good, but if you see, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's, he is so merciful, Because when he came, this is what Krishna's conclusion is. These kind of four people will never come to me. He's used the word never. These kind of four people. But when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came 500 years back in Navadvip, where he was born and he was brought up, and he spread this Bhakti cult, what we are following, Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. The Gaudiya Sampradaya. Gaudiya means that Bengal place is called Gaudiya Pradesh. So from where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given this or gave the Bhakti movement for us, and we are following his footsteps, and that is the reason we say Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So it started from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Nityananda is his eternal associate. Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita. Advaita is another Acharya. Gadadhara is another Acharya. Srivasadi. So these are another Acharya. So this is the disciplic succession in which we are taking this knowledge. And so when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, he never discriminated in one way that you are a Muda, you are a Asuddha Swabhav person. He never discriminated. He just gave the love of Godhead for all. Because what has happened is that, see, if you wanted to, when in Dwapar Yuga, the demoniac people and the good people were lying in the same area, or they are staying in the same area. If you see Shishupala, Kamsa, and Krishna and Pandavas are all staying together in one area, geographical area. But if you see in the previous Yugas, Satya Yuga, if you see, the Ravana was in a different island, and Rama was in a different place. So they were separated a lot. But what happened is that slowly when we came to the other Yugas, when it comes to Dwapar Yuga, they started living together. And in Kali Yuga, the demoniac person and the good person, both are lying in the same person. It's not outside. So if you call yourself in Kali Yuga, every person has got this demoniac mentality, or I would say that he is a demon as well as having good qualities. So both are mixed, mostly demoniac qualities. Because being in Kali Yuga, the prabhav is so much that we are by nature chota mota, Ravanas and Kumbhakarnas and all these demoniac people. They are chota mota. Now, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, he just freely distributed this prem. And there was two brothers, Jagai and Madai. They were so demoniac people. You can't even imagine whatever any bad person can do, a demoniac person can do, they were doing. They were drinking, they were raping people, they were looting people, they were robbing people, and they were beating people, all kinds of people. So all kind of nonsense they have, you name it, they have done it. So that kind of a people, if you see in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, so the Jagai and Madai, who are the epitome of demoniac nature in Kali Yuga 500 years back, they got liberated. They got liberated when they got the mercy of not Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu. Nityananda Prabhu is the Guru Tattva. So that is the reason when they got the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu, the Guru, then they just became Bhaktas. These people have became Bhaktas and they propagated Krishna consciousness. So that kind of a history we have for our Sampradaya. So not to worry if you are having some demoniac qualities, this and that. We are in the hands of Krishna. We surrender to Krishna. We say that Krishna, yes, I have so many bad qualities and I have come to this material world because of my envious nature about you. Now I realize myself, I am surrendering to you. I wanted to adhere to whatever you are saying and I will follow you. That kind of, this is where when you surrender, to your Guru or Vaishnavas or to the process or to Bhagavad Gita's teaching, your false ego which is there will diminish. This is the one which is stopping us, which made us to come to this material world. So that is where we need to revive that, and that's where we can revive. Okay, so that's where Krishna mentioned that there are these 4 kinds of people who will never come to surrender to me, and there are 4 kinds of people who surrender to me. Artho, the distressed one; Jignasu, the inquisitive one; the Arthardi, desirer of wealth; and Gnani, he who is in searching of knowledge of the absolute. And he says that he is the best person out of the 4 category of people, because he will retain to be there because he is getting in touch with Krishna. The rest of the people have come as a casual onlookers. Once their desires are fulfilled, they just leave. Okay. And the last one, he talked about demigods, where he mentioned that who are the people who worship the demigods. Those people who are less intelligent people will worship the demigods. That was he was concluding. And one other thing, let's quickly get the tattva of the demigod worship. So whenever you go to a demigod, you go for what? Do you go for generally, can somebody tell me why do we go to a demigod? You might have gone so many times. I myself have gone so many times. So why is that we went to a demigod? For what desires? Material gain, material desires. Fantastic, Prem Raja Prabhu. Yeah, we missed you yesterday, Prem Raja Prabhu. Yeah, thank you. So to fulfill our material desire, we go. Do you go to a demigod and say, I need love of Krishna? Does any loving relationship get established with a demigod? First tell me. Just tell me the history and about yourself also. Did you have, though you might have gone to the demigod many times, did you get a feel that, yeah, I should love him, I should love her? No, you will never get it. Why is that? Why is that you will not get that launching that, yes, I need to go and have a loving relationship with this demigod? Because we are part and parcel of Krishna and not part and parcel of any demigod. We are part and parcel of Krishna. So our launching, our loving relationship, the propensity to love, to show our love, to experience that love only comes when you are in contact with Krishna. Now, none other demigod you get in contact, you will not experience that love, because you are part and parcel of Krishna, and originally you are spirit soul, and that spirit soul will, when connected to the supreme soul, which is none other than Krishna, you will be able to experience that love. No other way, no other way, no other way you can experience that love. It is just going to be waste of your time if you are just going and getting it. There are very few exceptions when somebody has gone to a demigod, especially to Shiva, very exceptionally, when they went with a desire, not for a material desire, but they went for it with a desire that I wanted some higher purpose in my life. Then Shiva has pointed out to Krishna and gave him the bhakti, or directed him to go towards Krishna. So when you go with a material desire, they will give only material desires. Okay, so that's where we ended, and the last category of people is what was touched about in the last sloka of Bhagavad Gita in the previous chapter, where he talked about a different category of people called Yoga Mishra Bhaktas, which we did not discuss because of the lack of time, but it was in the last chapter only. So we will quickly go through what is this Yoga Mishra Bhaktas. A Yoga Mishra Bhakta, basically, if you see, a Yoga Mishra Bhakta accepts Krishna's supremacy, but worship Krishna with a hidden agenda. So your Yoga Mishra Bhakta accepts Krishna's supremacy. He accepts that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, but he worships Krishna with a hidden agenda. What is that hidden agenda? So basically, a Yoga Mishra Bhakta has a hidden agenda that he need to get liberated. Liberated from where? From what? Liberated from this material universe. Because there is so much of difficulties in this particular universe, material place. So they wanted to get liberated. At the same time, they are not interested in any sense gratification. Because Yoga Mishra Bhakta knows that this entire material world is not a place where there is enjoyment, no true blissful enjoyment. So that's the reason why no sense gratification they have, and their desire is for liberation and liberation from this material world. Accept Krishna as the Supreme Lord. So this is what Krishna talks about Yoga Mishra Bhaktas in the previous chapter, and now he connects that to this chapter. How a Yoga Mishra Bhakta can go to an ultimate state of realizing the impersonal form of the Supreme Lord. They can go to the Brahman level or maximum Paramatma level. So they cannot go beyond. Why they cannot go beyond? Can somebody tell me? Why they cannot go beyond the realization of what is that Brahman realization or maximum Paramatma realization? Beyond that supreme Bhagavan realization they cannot go. Why? What do you think? Anybody? Yeah. Nobody? Okay. I'm sorry, I kept my chat. Okay. Just want the liberation? Yes. There is no loving devotional service? Yes. Loving relationship? Yeah, that's correct. They don't practice, but yes. See, their desire is for liberation only. See, one thing, ultimately, what happens is that once you go and become a bhakta, what are some of the characteristics that will start evolving within yourself is that the I which is there will diminish. The I which is there will diminish. We have seen that in the previously. What did we discuss? We said that na hoge hogitini. So the concept of I is so much ingredient in us that we do not want it to leave. And at least the good starting point is Yoga Mishra Bhakta. He has some desire, and that desire is that I wanted to get out of this material world. Okay, that's a good starting point. And he has got the knowledge also that, and that's the reason why he doesn't get involved in any of these sense gratification. And he accepts Krishna as the Supreme Lord. Accept means he has the knowledge. But only one turning point which need to be there is that the desire need to be towards Krishna rather than to yourself. For in one way you are also asking liberation because of your material desire only. Again, why material desire? I don't want it to be in this material world. That's what you are asking. So still it is towards you. That's where Krishna says that. So one has to. So what does a bhakta do? A bhakta basically has no desire for himself. But is he going to become desireless? Can somebody tell me? Is a bhakta going to become a desireless person? Or he still has desires? He doesn't have any desires. Okay, so you will become desireless. He has desires. Chandrasekhar Prabhu, thank you. Yeah. Puja Mataji, thank you very much. See, why you cannot become desireless? Can somebody tell me why you cannot become desireless? Yeah, spiritual desires, but why you cannot become desireless? It's not possible. Because constitutionally, the soul, the spirit which we are, is active. Whenever it cannot become inactive. So that means whenever you are active, it is ingredient in you that you will, as part of your activity, you will be having desires. And that desires need to be directed towards Krishna. And that's what bhaktas do. Instead of we also have desires, but only, and we are not saying neither bhakti mark when you take up, you don't become desireless, and you don't not have doing any inaction is not what you are constitutionally are going to do. So only thing is that your action should be towards Krishna, and your desire should be to please Krishna, not to please yourself, but to please Krishna. This is the highest, topmost. But again, we have to know what is the topmost, what is the end goal. And that's the reason we are discussing. These are high principles, but still you need to know. We need to go there one day or the other, but let's know it. Okay. So how is that we are transitioning from this? See how we are taking. We just see. When we were yoga ladder wise, if you see, that's the basis for us. Yoga ladder wise, yeah, Bhakti also wanted to go back to Godhead, not a desire. Yeah. So see, Bhakti, whenever you are in Bhakti, that means you have a desire. Desire is an integral part of yourself, because it is not the material one we are talking about. Yes, some desire is there, but any desire has to come because that desire is evolving, because you have spirit, you are a spirit soul. If suppose the soul has left your body, will there be any desires inside? No. So desires are there, and it will be there, it will continue to be there. Only thing is that you need to direct it towards Krishna. Then only you will be able to liberate yourself, liberate in the true sense from this material entanglement, and go back to Goloka, not just get liberated. Then where will you go if you are just liberated from this material world? You will go to a intermediate place where you will not be neither in the spiritual world nor in the material world. It will be in the intermediate stage. Na garka, na gatka, dobika, kutta. They say that in Hindi. So that's much more okay. The good thing is that they have realized to a large extent, but once they go into that intermediate state, they cannot stay there for long. Why they cannot stay there for long? Can somebody tell me? In the effulgence of the Supreme Lord, you just go there and stay there. You don't have the eligibility. You're like, you have gone to a particular city, and you're not, say, suppose you were going to US or some other place, and in the port of entry, they stopped you. These are the people who are getting not entry into that country. They are stopped at the port of entry. And the port of entry, they are stopped and they stay there for quite some time till they are frustrated. They are frustrated to know that I do not have the eligibility. Now what I need to do? I will come down. I will come down to this material world again, purify myself, and then go back to Goloka. So that's the only way, right? So, so whatever is happening from the yoga ladder, if you see, you are a karma yogi. And where is that you are focusing on? You are focusing on karma. You are not focusing that much on bhakti at karma level. Yoga means dovetailing with Krishna, but you are more focused on your prescribed duties. But again, no attachment to fruitive results. And what is the last thing? And do it with knowledge. These are the nishkama karma. Nishkama karma, this is what? Do your duty, do it with knowledge, and third is that no attachment to the results. But again, you are centered towards the work. That's where not so much on for whom you are doing, not so much bothered. But you wanted to do it this way, but not so much focused. But as you gradually come to the next level, Ashtanga Yogi level, you will also come to know that, yes, all this, whatever I am doing, I should be doing for Krishna's sake. You will get little bit of enlightenment and you will start doing it. And once you come to the Bhakti Yogi level, your purification is so much that you are dovetailing everything for Krishna. So you are 100%, you are dovetailing everything. And you will come to a stage where you will say that I am remembering Krishna all the time and I am not forgetting Krishna anytime. So that is the ultimate state. Yeah, it's a long way to go, but that's what it is. Okay. So, yeah, so we discussed about so many things. in the previous chapter. The summary of this chapter. Let us get a big overview about this. There are three comparisons that Krishna is making in this chapter at TOD. What is TOD? I know EOD. I used to say when I was working as a manager, so I used to write an email to my reportees. I want this by EOD. End of the day, I want this. Or end of business, I want this. So Krishna is also saying that he is giving three comparison, remembering Krishna at TOD. TOD means, anybody? Nobody has given. What is TOD? Today, time of death. Yes, that's correct. Jyoti Mata, thank you so much. So, remembering Krishna at the time of death. That's where he's doing three comparison. Result of remembering Krishna versus anything else. So, Krishna here says that what will happen when you remember Krishna at the time of death? If you remember your dog, because a lot of people are interested to have pet dogs. And if you remember your dog in the end of your life, you will become a dog in your next life. And if you remember your cat, because there are a lot of people also in US, they rear cats. So you'll become, the next life, you'll become cat. Suppose you remember Krishna in the end of your life. Logically, it concludes that you'll become Krishna. Is that correct? So, on the contrary, when you remember Krishna, you will not become Krishna, but you will go to Krishna Loka. So that is what Krishna is saying. That you will, because a lot of people say that. If that analogy is correct, this also should be there. Aham Brahmasmi, they say. Aham Brahmasmi. All these wrong concepts. That's what in the first doubts that Arjuna is going to ask will be these doubts only. What is this Aham Brahmasmi? A lot of these Mayavadis say, Aham Brahmasmi. See, they say that super soul is there within me and the super soul is also there outside. So that super soul, this super soul. So this is also super soul only, because I also have, in the Shastra it is mentioned that Atma and Paramatma coexist here. So I am also super soul and that also is super soul. So Aham Brahmasmi, they bring it that way. But what is the actual conclusion, we'll see. So the process of remembering Krishna by Bhakti Yogi and Yoga Mishra Bhakta. So what is the process that these Yoga Mishra Bhaktas do in terms of remembering Krishna and a Bhakti Yogi does? That is what their ultimate goal is, to become a Bhakti Yogi. Bhaktas. You can call it as Bhakti Yogi or Bhaktas. So execution of remembering Krishna by a Bhakti Yogi versus a Yoga Mishra Bhaktas. See, in one way, what Krishna is saying is that these are the three things that are discussed in this chapter. And these 28 slokas, 28 verses which are there, are divided into one of these three categories. Either you are remembering Krishna, or what will happen when you remember Krishna at the end of your time, and what is the process of remembering Krishna and how I can execute remembering Krishna. See, this is same thing as what we discussed earlier. Can somebody remember a similar kind of a Sanskrit words we have used earlier? Can somebody remember that? I know I'm trying to trouble you a lot by asking this, by giving a very minor hint and then asking you to remember. But still, just wanted to check. Okay, can something strike you when I'm saying this? So here, if you see, analyze this carefully, you are talking about Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojana. In one way, you are doing the same thing. So just, and for that matter, if you wanted to study Bhagavad Gita very nicely and analyze Bhagavad Gita nicely, keep this formula. Each and every sloka, whichever is there in Bhagavad Gita, comes under any of these three categories only. Whether Krishna is talking about Sambandha Jnana or Abhideya, the Abhideya, is basically the process by which you can establish the Sandambandha Jnana, or the knowledge that you got to know. How can I put it into practice? Is that one. And the last one is that prayojana. What will I get once I fulfill as per the process I follow, and what will I get? So these are the three categories in which you can divide the entire Bhagavad Gita. So each and every sloka falls into any of these categories, but there are some slokas which come under a mixture of that. Abhidaya and Prayojana it could be, or the Prayojana and other. So combination could be there, but mostly they are into silos, but there will be a combination also. And similarly here, Krishna in this particular chapter is talking about the process of remembering Krishna by these two category people, and how can I execute? Because end of the day, you need to execute to get the results. I know a lot of theories, tons of theories, but hardly something into practice, then what good it is. So these 28 shlokas have been divided this way. Okay. So this is the practice of Yoga Mishra Bhaktas. So describes Yoga Mishra Bhaktas. All these practices assist the yogis in remembering Krishna. They are not the end in themselves. So if you are making the end in yourself, that means you stopped, and that's where you are not going to get benefited. Whether you are a karma yogi, jnana yogi, or ashtanga yogi, hatha yogi, you should not stop there. You should go to the next level, next level. That's what, if you go through the other videos, you know that. So if you increase your knowledge and renunciation from karma, you will go to jnana. So similarly like that. So we are seeing it's a progressive steps that you have. But for us, we do not want to really go into that process. We can directly take up to Krishna consciousness. That is also there. But remember, because sometimes we are a mixture of people, right? So that's where Mishra means mixture. So, and they are not ending themselves. This is the Satchakra Yoga. Krishna talks about Satchakra Yoga also in this particular chapter. There are so many things which we may not be able to have time to discuss everything, but I request you to go through it. So when you are leaving this body, a Ashtanga Yogi, when he leaves his body, how he can leave this body such that he need not come back to this material world. That's where it talks about. There is something called Ajna Chakra. When you are raising, and when your soul is leaving through the Ajna Chakra, it no more comes back to this material world. So that's what, again, one pitfall is there. If for any of this, what is that pitfall? Because he is leaving out, but again, he will not come back to this material world in one way, because he desired that. One pitfall is that he will go and his realization is to the extent that I just wanted to get out of this material world. He is a Yoga Mishra Bhakta. And since his desire is not doubted with Krishna and he wanted to go and serve Krishna, so he will stay there till the time he is frustrated. He is like in the port of entry. He is neither in that nor this. It's much more difficult situation. He gets frustrated and he'll come back, get the purify himself, and then go back to Goloka by purifying himself. So that's what it is. Okay, so don't criticize these people who are Ashtanga yogis or etc. If they follow perfectly, they can also get the liberation. But again, the perfect liberation is to go back to Goloka. Okay, so this is the gradual the stages which we discussed, and we are still in the introduction part of it only. Synopsis of chapter 8. Here again in the 7th chapter 30th verse, Lord Krishna uses the following terms. What is Adi Bhuta? He talks about Adi Bhuta, Adi Daiva, Adi Yajna. So these are the three new words, new terms that come Krishna uses. And now Krishna very nicely uses these words so that Arjuna can ask questions. See that beauty about it. So Krishna is prompting Arjuna to ask these questions because these are the new terms he doesn't know. So then Arjuna asks these doubts. Out of these 7 doubts, he quickly clarifies, and the 8th doubt is what he clarifies in taking the entire chapter, dedicating for that. Now, what is Brahman, what is Adi, Atma, etc. Lord Krishna answers Arjuna's question. Importance of remembering Krishna at the time of death, going back to Godhead. This is where he emphasizes on this question. This is what Arjuna is asking, and what will happen when I remember Krishna at the time of death. That's where he's emphasizing and gives the entire philosophy of how we can, that previous three whatever we discussed. That's where he comes across the pure devotional service, always remembering Krishna through bhakti, comparing material and spiritual world, glories of the spiritual world. This is where somebody was asking, so can is there a description of spiritual world? Yes, Krishna talks about the spiritual world in this particular chapter. He gives and if you wanted to go much more detail, you have to read Bhagavatam first canto. That's one place. The second place you can go and go into the details of the spiritual world is Brahma Samhita. So Brahma Samhita, Samhita is basically some kind of a understanding that somebody has, or realization somebody has when they visited some place. So Brahma visits the spiritual world and he documented all that as part of this Brahma Samhita. So when you read that, you will know about the spiritual world, what it is all about. But here in Bhagavad Gita, spiritual world description is given here and in the subsequent chapters, but again, not at that great detail. The supremacy of devotion is attaining the supreme. So our ultimate goal is to go back to Goloka. So that's what we were talking about. Attaining the supreme. So here Arjuna has some doubts from the 1 to 4 slokas, and in the end of life, what will happen is what is discussed in great detail. Attaining the supreme, how I can attain the supreme, what are the ways you can attain the supreme, all these things have been discussed, and devotion, which is the ultimate the goal for the bhaktas through which we can go, that's what is discussed. And it is acronymed as DEAD, D-E-A-D, DEAD. Please remember this. If you remember the acronyms, it will be. Somebody was asking me, see, in Bhagavad Gita, why are they talking about end of life, death? It's so pessimistic. So one should not really discuss about all this. And he was also saying that very logically saying, suppose you go for a movie. If somebody wants to go and wants to tell you that what is the story about, what is the plot, what is going to happen in the end of the movie, all that is trying to reveal you, will you be interested to hear? That person said. He said no. Then why is that Krishna is talking about end of life? What will happen? Because why should I know? Anyways, I am going to see. So, but now that is the difference between a bhakta and especially the knowledge that is given in Bhagavad Gita versus any other literature. They don't talk about these kind of things. More about in ISKCON. ISKCON, they say that it's not art of living only, it's art of dying also. ISKCON philosophy is not just art of living, but it's art of dying. How should I leave this body? I should know it, because that's where my perfection is. And they say that you will come to know that life is a journey, death is an examination. Or in one way, I would say that life is a preparation. Life is a preparation, death is an examination. So when you prepare well, that examination, whether you will pass or fail, you can get to know. So prepare well. That's what Krishna is saying, right? So doubts, end of life, he talks about. And so here, if you see one observation, Arjuna, Krishna never prompted or never suppressed the doubts of Arjuna. And Arjuna was encouraged in another way. Whenever he asked any questions, he was always encouraging. Krishna was encouraging. This is how we should also atato brahma jignasa. We should always have this inquisitive mind to know things. And when we were kids, we were having so much of that thirst to inquire. Nana cheppidi, amma cheppidi, adenduku itla. Why is that this way? Why is that way? Can you tell me about? But slowly, when we started our life, we stopped inquiring. So you need to cultivate. If you wanted to become a student or you wanted to be a recipient of Bhagavad Gita knowledge, you need to be a student. you need to be a disciple. And also it calls for saying that you need to be disciplining yourself. So that kind of a discipline should be cultivated, and it starts with asking right kind of questions. Right or wrong is not the question, because if you see Arjuna also, he repeatedly is asking a similar kind of question, but still patiently the Guru should answer, and that's what Krishna is doing. Okay, and he's encouraging. So use your faculty. God has given the intellect, so use that faculty. So these are some of the questions that Arjuna asked, and quickly 7 questions quickly in one word he finishes. What is Brahman? Brahman is indestructible, transcendental living being called Jiva. Next, who is the Adi Atma? The presiding deity of the body. Adi Atma is the living entity and the eternal nature. So that's what the self. Adi Atma is the self. This is Jiva, Brahman. So what is karma? Is karma fruitive or spiritual activity? Karma means action leading to material body. So karma means material body, relation. Adi Bhuta is the ever-changing material nature. So Adi Bhuta means Bhuta, Bhuloka. You see the word? You can remember Bhuloka, Bhuta, material nature. Adi Bhuta. Adi Daiva, he who presides over the demigods and their planets in the Agni is Adi Devata. Adi Devata. These words we come across. Adi Devata. The universal form of the Lord is also called Adi Daiva. And if you see the universal form of the Lord, whatever he described, there is no why we are not attached to the universal form, which is going to describe in the subsequent chapters, the universal form chapter. So we are not attached because it is the material form of the Supreme Lord, but still it has taken given a specific chapter in Bhagavad Gita is because it is exhibited by the Supreme Lord. So it is spiritual. But again, we don't get attached because this is the universal form of the Lord, which is the material form only. Material, see. So the word material, we should not take it in a wrong context. He is showing whatever he is in the material environment. That's what we'll dig deeper when we go to the universal form. Adi Yajna, Krishna as the supreme soul is within everyone's heart and is Adi Yajna, the Lord of all sacrifices, super soul. So that's what here the 7 questions that he quickly addressed, and then he goes and emphasizes on the 8th one only. Any doubts so far? Okay. So this is where this slide will be there, so you can understand this. So let's quickly go through it. And Adi Bhuta, constantly changing physical nature, which manifests as 6 changes of the body. Somebody was asking, I think Pawan Kumar Prabhu or somebody, asking that can we see the soul, etc. And the point is that you can experience, you can realize the presence of the soul. And what are the characteristics that the soul exists? Is that there is birth that takes place, and there is growth, and there is sustenance. Sustenance means you be there for some time, and some byproducts you can create. You can give rise to some children, and you will dwindle. That means old age will come, and you will perish. So these are some of the characteristics of any living being. It is a kind of a test whether soul exists or not. If soul does not exist, none of these 4 things will happen. Now, if you take a plant, you can ask whether a plant has got soul or not. Does it have a birth? Yes, it has a birth. Does it grow? Yes, it grows. Does it stay for some time? Yes, it stays for some time. Does it produce any offsprings? Yes, it does produce some products. Does it dwindle? Old age comes and it dies? Yes, it does. So that's what. And the next one, he talks about Adi Devata, where he compares, contemplates on the, so basically the Supreme Lord, Adi Devata. So all this, you can go through it. Adi Yajna, we also discussed. Okay. So the next one, end of life, what will happen? That's where Krishna is preparing us to give this knowledge, and that's the focus of this particular chapter. So Life is a preparation and death is an examination. That's what we discussed. So this is where we wanted to understand. Antakale cha mameva smaran mukta kalevaram yah prayati samadbhavam yati nasti atra samshayah. So you can recite these verses as I did recite, or you can also follow certain meters that are there, and that meters will also help you to read this properly, and you can sing it with joy. Antakale cha mameva smaran mukta kalevaram ya prayati samadbhavam yati nasti atra samshayah. So that way you are enjoying while you are doing, because Bhagavad Gita, it's a song, so you can sing it like that also. And children have memorized this because they sing it as a song. Okay. So, and whoever at the end of life quits his body, remembering me alone at once, attains my nature. Of there is no doubt. So, this is where Krishna says that if you remember me at the end of my life, end of your life, you will come back to me. But is it going to be that easy? And there are so many stories that are there about Ajamila. How many of you know about Ajamila? There is a story about Ajamila in Bhagavatam. So this is what, so we'll go into the details at later point of time. So now, if you see another sloka in the same context, yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajanti antakalevaram tam tam eveti kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavita. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. So that's what he is saying. And if you see this Mahabharata, that whatever the Grantha, the name given, and our nation is called Bharata Bhumi, Bharata Khanda, also Bharata Khanda. So basically, there was one king called Bharat Maharaj, who is the ancestral for all this. And Krishna sometimes says to Arjuna, Bharatar Shaba. Bharatar Shaba means so you are coming from that lineage and you are the best of all these whosoever have come. So Bharatar Shaba. You come from that lineage of Bharata. So Bharata was a king, and when he not very faggot of his old age like that, but when he was like probably around 40 like that, he given all his responsibilities of his kingdom etc. to these children, and then he wanted to pursue in remembering Krishna, and so he went to the forest that time. We are talking about in that yuga, where he goes to the forest, and now what happens is that while he was in his hermitage, small kutir, where he was, there was a tiger which was chasing a deer, and that deer was a pregnant deer, and it was almost like about to deliver in 1 or 2 days. And that kind of a pregnant deer was getting chased by a tiger, and to save its life, the deer jumps from a big rock, and when it jumps, in that movement, the baby comes out of his belly, was there in his delivers the baby, and this particular mother, deer mother, dies because it jumped from a higher elevation. Now, for some reason, the tiger does not eat this any of these, neither the mother nor the child which was born, and it leaves. Now, in that kind of a situation, Bharat Maharaj was seeing that, he sees that pitiable state of that particular deer, and he gets the deer and he takes care of it, that deer, and he is so much engrossed all the time that whenever he is doing any of his prescribed duties, or the what do you say, the spiritual duties of yajna or whatever at that time what is prescribed. So when he was doing, he is only remembering the deer. What will happen to the deer? Is there any other animal that is going to come and eat? So his thoughts were only that, and the fag end of his life, he just remembered the deer. And in the next life, he became a deer. And but again, his consciousness, he was at a level of 90% perfection. He was at a bhava level. So he was 90% perfected. Just 10% remaining to go back to Goloka. But still, because of remembering the deer and just in his fag end of his life, he just became a deer. And later on, he took the birth. But again, he knew that he missed the golden opportunity. He was just very close to the ashramas where munis and rishis were there. He was eating the remnants of these munis and ashramas, what they left over. And next life, he takes a life as a Jada Bharat. And Jada Bharat, he takes the life in a Brahmin family. And in that Brahmin family, he becomes, he behaves like a Jada. Jada means very inert kind of person, foolish kind of person. Because he doesn't want to unnecessarily waste his life, so he was very determined. But again, he don't want to exhibit anything outside that he is having any qualities of a Brahmana or any Shastric knowledge, nothing. He remembered his past life, fortunately. Now, what happens is that his family members started taking advantage of him and not giving him food or making him work for a long time, etc., etc. And once dacoits come to their home and take this Jada Bharat for giving bali to him, that means sacrifice in front of Kali Mata. And finally, Kali Mata sees that these dacoits are about to kill him. So she comes out and kills all the demons, and he is relieved from there. And when he comes outside, there is a palanquin in which the king is going, and the king's name is, I think, Raghuguna. And this Raghuguna is taken in that particular palanquin. And one of the palanquin person who's supposed to take care of that load, out of 4, he's sick. So they see this person, Jada Bharat, who was very nicely built, tall. So he brings him, and he's taking the palanquin. And while the palanquin is taking, he sees small ants, and he's jumping, so that he's not killing those ants. So, and now the king inside is disturbed because the palanquin is moving like that. And now when he comes, then he scolds the Jada Bharat for what he is doing. Finally, Jada Bharat then talks about who he is, what is soul, what is super soul, and then he gives you the knowledge of the transcendental knowledge. And Raghuguna realizes that this person is not a normal person. He submits himself, goes to him, and asks for forgiveness. And in the same life, Bharat Maharaj goes to the Goloka. That means, so if you see the entire Bhagavatam, it's a nice end. The entire story is that all these devotees have faced a lot of difficulties in their life, like including Bharat Maharaj. So much trouble he has to go. He was about to be killed, and his family members are troubling him so much. The entire Bhagavatam, if you see that devotees had so many troubles. Take for instance Prahlad Maharaj. His own father was about to kill him in whatever way, trouble him so much. Take Dhruva Maharaj, so many troubles. For that matter, just 17th century, you say Tukaram. Tukaram, his wife used to beat him like anything. And in the fag end of his life, Tukaram said, I am going to Vaikunta. The aeroplane is going to come. Will you come along with me? He asked his wife. His wife foolishly said that I have to take care of my buffaloes. Who will take care of some family engagement is there? Why should I come? So we also are become like that. We are so much into this material conception of life and material attachment. When some devotee, once Guru is saying, Krishna is saying, Baba, come to my loka. That is where your true enjoyment is. But no, we just wanted to be in this material world. So that is what is true self-realization one has to experience. So Srila Prabhupada explains that so one state of mind at the time of death determines the destination attained in the next life. So Srila Prabhupada explains that the best process is by chanting the Hare Krishna. This is the chapter. You see that if you read, maximum number of times Srila Prabhupada in his purports emphasizes on chanting the holy name, because chanting the holy name is the Yuga Dharma, and this is what you all should do. And you need to have association, you need to read books, you need to do chanting and follow diet, proper diet. Then we should be able to get out of this material entanglement and go back to Goloka. So all of us should focus that our ultimate goal is that, not like what answers that who is that Bhakta Tukaram's wife has told. Right? I am engaged, I need to take care of this, I need to take care of that. So, okay, next one. Tatmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yuddhacha mayyarpita mano buddhir mam avaishya ashamshayah. Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna. You always think of me in the form of Krishna, not in form of any other thing. So that is what Krishna is saying. Not in the form of Paramatma, not in form of Brahman, not in form of a candle, not in form of a light. All these things what others were saying. See, this is what ultimately Krishna is saying. Arjuna, you should always think of me in what way? You should always think of me in my form, Bhagavan form. And at the same time, carry out your prescribed duties. This is very, very important. Don't give up your prescribed duties. Your prescribed duties, Swadharma, your Sanatan Dharma should go parallel. Don't go into the notion just because I am going to this Bhagavad Gita classes. Now, a lot of Matajis, I got one complaint from one of the Prabhujis. Prabhuji, yes, we agree that you are giving good knowledge about Bhagavad Gita, but my wife stopped working in the kitchen. She is now only reading Bhagavad Gita. Whenever I asked, she is saying that, what is there? You can also go and cook. Then now that Prabhuji is saying, yes, I am not having any problem to cook, but I have my other duties to do. So, like that, you should do your prescribed duties, as well as you should not stop doing your Sanatana Dharma also. That's where he is re-emphasizing here, Krishna. Same time, carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. Now, slowly, can you see the change? Can you see the change from Yoga Ladder? What was getting emphasized and what is emphasizing now? Just see the subtle things. What is the mood of Krishna now? The way his tone has changed now. What is that significant change has come in this particular sloka? Can somebody tell me? Anything that comes to your mind? See, when it came to the first chapter or second chapter or in the karma part, Krishna talked to Arjuna, Arjuna, do your work. Do your work. Do it with knowledge. Do it without any attachment to the results. He didn't talk about this. What Krishna is now saying is that before work, he is putting to remember Krishna. Now the emphasis has changed. Now he is saying that remember me and then do your work. So that is what is emphasized. Now, slowly, now we also should graduate to that level. But again, if you are not, but that's okay. You do your work. Again, remember Krishna, make it secondary. But finally, you need to do this. You need to remember Krishna and then do your work. That's what they say, right? I remember whenever I used to go for an examination, when my childhood, I used to write some Om or Jai Shri Ram or something on my question answer sheet itself. I used to remember Krishna and then used to write my exam. So like that, do your duty. Before doing your duty, remember Krishna and then do your duty. So thank you, Mataji. Yeah, Prem Raja Prabhu, thank you very much. Yes, remember Krishna and never forget. Yeah, never forget, but at the same time, remember Krishna and do your work. That's what is the prescribed duties. With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. So that means to say, purify your subtle body, Your mind, intelligence, and ego, whichever is there, purify it. And your prescribed duties, when you remember me and do, that also will get purified. Your duty will also get purified. It will be now, it's like baptized in the Christian parlor, if you wanted to say. You'll be baptized. So this is what all that important instructions to all men engaged in material activities. Mind, intelligence fixed on me. And whenever you are doing chanting, so you are, see, what is the chanting actually? Chanting, it is a cry. We are crying. See, they say that when a child is lost or not able to see its mother, it is crying. And it is crying just to get in the fold or embrace her mother or his mother. So that is what, when we are doing chanting, we are crying, "Oh Krishna, I am lost here. Please engage me in your devotional service. I am lost doing so many things here. Please engage me in your devotional service." That is the only cry that you are doing while you are chanting. And you are chanting and remembering the mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. You are just remembering, and in turn, your why is that? Basically, Krishna, engage me in your devotional service. I am lost here. So that's what. And so the last one, we will see. Attaining the Supreme. So going back to Godhead by remembering Krishna, that's what Krishna is emphasizing on. Those people who are Yoga Mishra Bhaktas only think about getting out of this material world, and because they feel that this is a troublesome place. But again, they cannot get entry into Goloka because they are not yet purified. Their desires are not purified. Okay. So, see, one other thing I forgot to tell you, which I missed. We talked about 24 material elements, and we talked about soul, and we talked about this mind, intelligence, and false ego, which is also there apart from your gross elements. There is one thing called this subtle body is there. You have gross body, you have spiritual body. There is one other element which is not talked about in this context anywhere, but it is there in our Acharya Siddha. There is one thing called Karana Sharira. Karana Sharira is also there with us. This Karana Sharira is basically the desires that you have is also coming in the form of a Karana Sharira, and that is what is making you to take the next body. So the desires, whatever, see, because in your mind, intelligence, and false ego, we did not talk about this desire. There is, I was just contemplating. See, in the mind, intelligence, and ego, there is this desire coming in. Then Acharya has revealed that there is something called Karana Sharira. This desires take form of the Karana, and that is also what is getting traveled in your next life. So the desires, unfulfilled desires, you wanted to fulfill, so you are taking the next life also in one way. And along with that, your subtle body is coming, and your spirit soul, which is spiritual, that is also coming, and Karana Sharira is also coming. So not just mind, intelligence, and subtle body, but your spiritual, but this Karana Sharira is also coming. Just remember that, because it's talking about desire. Okay, this chapter you can study on your own. Not in the sense this particular segment you can study on your own, because there is so much of information given, like what will happen to the person who is leaving the body in the daytime, nighttime, in different segments of the time or season. So many things have been discussed, but and you can get out of this material body, and you need not come into this this material universe in one more time. But again, since your desires are not yet purified, you will be frustrated there. Though you will get away from this, material entanglement, but you do not have choice. You will come back one day. But it is up to you when you to how fast you will get frustrated. So based on that, you will come back, realize it, then go. And finally, for bhaktas, Krishna says that you don't have to worry. just remembering me, you will come to Goloka. So this strenuous process of what this Ashtanga Yogi does, or any other people wait for that kind of a kala and wait and live in that good time period. So all that is what is discussed. Okay. Mamupetya punarjanma dukhalema shashvatam napnuvate mahatmanaha samsiddhi paramam gataha. After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this material world, which is full of miseries. Dukhalayam ashashvatam came from here only, because they have attained the highest perfection. So you have to oh, I need the previous color screen, please. Okay. So this is, I can send it to you if you want. So this is the one. So point what I'm trying to make is that please don't depend upon my lectures or this particular talks what I'm giving. This should inspire you to go and read Bhagavad Gita. Once you read Bhagavad Gita, that is where your transformation will happen. Not by this might inspire you to go there, but if it is not inspiring you to go and pull up Bhagavad Gita and read, there is something wrong in my teaching or preaching. So you should pick up Bhagavad Gita and start reading. Unless and until you catch Bhagavad Gita in your hands, there is no way that love for Krishna will come. So I am telling you with my experience. So you can, to some extent, get inspired by hearing this and that from different lectures, but you personally have to endeavor. Krishna wants to see your endeavor. So pick up Bhagavad Gita and read the purports of Srila Prabhupada. Amazing. You may not understand so many things. When I was reading Bhagavad Gita, when I read the entire chapter, I closed it and I closed my eyes and asked, what did I really read? Can I summarize it? Very difficult. Yes, in one go it is not going to happen. But you make that start of reading Bhagavad Gita, understanding Bhagavad Gita, slowly things will be revealed. Because this knowledge is the transcendental knowledge. It is not just your effort. Effort is required. But Krishna's mercy should come. Guru's mercy should come. That will come when you do your endeavor. And sincerely pray while you are chanting, Krishna, I am not able to understand Bhagavad Gita. I am not able to understand myself. I am not able to understand you. Please reveal me. Then mercy will come. Okay. Abrahma bhuvana loka punaravartino arjuna mamupetya tu kaunteya punarjanma na vidyate. For the highest planets in the material world to the lowest, all the places of misery within the repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. So he will not come back to this material world. That is what Krishna is assuring you, that in your next life, you will be not coming back here. So the last one, he talks about the devotion. He talks about what happens to the devotees. And these devotees are basically only thinking about Krishna, and they will unalloyed devotees of the Supreme Lord who are totally surrendered souls, do not care when they leave their bodies or what method, they leave everything to Krishna's hand, so easily and happily return to Godhead. So here, finally Krishna is comparing what does a Hatha Yogi does, what a Jnana Yogi does, what a Karma Yogi does. They are also having the transcendental knowledge, no doubt about it. They are also following what is given in Krishna Bhagavad Gita, because of its transcendental knowledge. They must leave the body at the suitable time and thereby assure whether or not they will return to the world of birth and death. So based on this only, whether they will come back to this material world or not, this is decided by suitable time. So, but again, for bhaktas, we don't care about time. Because why? Because time is also part of, yesterday somebody was asking, very excellent question, Chandrasekhar Prabhu, what is time? So I'll get back to you on this, Prabhu. And so we don't really care about this. So we just wanted to leave everything to Krishna's mercy. We say that Krishna, if you desire, I will leave this material world. If you wanted me to take birth again, okay, I will take. What this kind of characteristic was shown by whom? Can you tell me in Bhagavatam? Who are the specific set of devotees who have shown this? For 100%, not just a little bit, 99.99, no, 100%. Who are those devotees? Come under what category? So the gopis. Gopis have shown that they don't care. Well, if it pleases Krishna, they are ready to go to Narakaloka also. And in this particular chapter, they have been describing about all the lokas, the Atala, Sutala, Saratala, Talatala. So all these lokas, top 7 lokas and bottom 7 lokas were described, and we are in the 7th Bhur Loka, we are there, and that's what is all described. But finally, bhaktas don't care about anything. They just leave it to Krishna's mercy, and they are always thinking only one thing. They are very fearless. They are fearless at the time of death also, because you are so much dependent upon Krishna. One last thing we will end, and it is so different ways of leaving the body and destination. Some people may go to heavenly planets, and because that is what their desire is. And there are some people who can go to Brahma. They can go into the effulgence of the Supreme Lord, Brahma Jyoti. But because this is like port of entry, you are like in that country, but again you do not have entry to go inside the country. So that is Brahma Jyoti. So that is also the spiritual only. But again, it's a port of entry. You are not yet qualified to go. You need to still get purified. You need to show your visa and ensure to the port of entry person. Again, there is an interview there. Interview means where there's a litmus test saying that when I was going to US, when getting a visa stamped to go is one hurdle that we have crossed. Second hurdle is that I got to know that at the port of entry, they got rejected and they asked to go back to my home country. That also happened. So you are fearful. But bhaktas do not care. They are not fearless. They are fearless 100% because they depend upon Krishna. Krishna doesn't matter. If you want me to go and stay in the Brahma Jyoti, yes, I can do, but will there be a service to be done for you? Because we are desiring for your service. If it is there, we will go there also. We can go to Patala Loka also. We can go, come back. Srila Prabhupada came back to this material world. Okay, I guess it's a service that you are giving me, I will do it. And very happily he did. So that is the beauty about it. And the path of unalloyed devotees, at any time, a pure devotee can leave his body. And what does it say? Devotees don't worry about the proper time to leave the body, but leave everything in Krishna's hands and focus on fixing consciousness in devotion. This is because Krishna takes care and gives protection. Devotional service gives results of all other practices. Okay, so there are so many things that we can discuss, but the point is that you got the gist about this chapter, and getting the gist about this chapter in 1.5 hours is not easy. And I am not qualified to give all that in a nutshell because I have my own limitation. Please forgive me for my shortcomings. If anybody has any doubts, please raise it. Hare Krishna. Dandavata.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. There's a question in chat. Pawan Kumar Bangori Prabhu is asking if we do spiritual way, this will become a Niskam Karma Yoga.
Be slow, Prabhu. Be slow. I'm not able to understand. Yeah.
How can we put desires to Krishna?
How do you put desires to Krishna?
Yes, Prabhu.
Right. How do you put desires to Krishna as you are putting desires to your father and mother, and when you are a child? Same way. You just go with folded hands. If suppose when you are a kid, how you wanted a pair of shoes. For me, in my time, getting sports shoes was like doing some austerities, because I was coming from a middle class or a lower middle class kind of a family, wherein we are 4 siblings. Well, and my father was the only bread earner, and he was doing a central government job. Now, if I had to get a pair of shoes, I have to please my father. I have to tell him that I will behave properly, etc. etc. See, basically, we are just we need to become kids, and we are sons of the Supreme Lord. So you just go and beg him honestly, saying that this is what I am. I have so many limitations. Please, this is what I'm desiring. So just like that, you have to just go and approach the way you approach your parents, biological parents. So you approach your eternal parent, Krishna. Yeah, Prabhu. Next, Prabhu.
Yes.
Yeah, Madhavi Mataji has got one.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Guruji.
Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Guruji, that people will say if we have did good things, that's the reason we got this life as a human being and body. Is it correct, Guruji? Or sometimes people will also say that we did some mistakes and papas to solve. How can I?
Yeah, to get relief from those, you could take in this part. That's what it is.
Yes, Guruji.
So first part, what you said is that why I have taken the this birth. You said second part I understand. First part.
It is we did some good things in a past, so we get this life as a human being.
Now, if you see, if you see that you can go back and review the recording of the 3 doers, and in that we also mentioned about desire, desiring doer 1, and sanctioning doer, and the action doer. 3 doers are there, and the important thing there we talked about is the karmic bank balance. This karmic bank balance also is the one which will give rise to new desires, and that. So basically, when you take this body, whatever human body or any other body, it did not just come like that. If you take Bharat Maharaj case, since he was thinking about the deer, he got a deer body. And desire, because thinking means desire. So, and that desire is also very strong desire. So, for which he took a deer body. And now, when you realize that, and again, based on your past karma, he has perfected till 90%. So, he has taken the deer body, but the next life, he took birth as in a Brahmana family. See that the reason he took birth in a Brahman family, because his spiritual quotient, you have your spiritual balance, right? You have karmic bank balance, yes, and spiritual bank balance is also there. You have come till 90% from your spiritual bank balance. Only 10% is remaining, but your karmic bank balance, it has come to 90% because you have reduced your karmic bank balance also. If not, this will not get raised, right? So only thing is that since his karmic his spiritual balance was there, and he has taken birth in a Brahmin family, and he realized as a Brahmana what he need to do, and he perfected it, and he left back. Now, to your question once again, I'm sorry, I'm beating around the bush. So when we take this birth, are we taking this birth because of our good karma or bad karma? Yes, we are taking.
Yes, Guruji, that is the doubt.
Yeah, we are taking this birth because of our good karma and bad karma also. Good karma means that you are given a birth based on your inclination towards the spiritual Lord. So basically, what I mean to say is that if suppose you have done something to increase your spiritual quotient, to increase from there, you are 10% you have done. He will give you an environment such that you can continue from 11%. So that kind of environment he will give. For Jadabara, he has given a Brahman family because he can continue from there, because 10% only remaining, he'll go from there. So like that, it all depends upon your karma also, because if your karma is not good enough, then you have to suffer, and you have to suffer in this world. But with one devotee was saying that I am a devotee, why am I getting all this trouble? See, your past balance, karmic balance, have to be nullified. Nullified means removed. So you have to, either Supreme Lord does it on your behalf at later point of time. But again, if you see in Bhagavatam also, lot of devotees have gone through this trouble, because it is like if you wanted to make a nice golden ornament, the gold has to go through the heating process. It has to be heated so much that it will come into a liquid form. Then you can shape it. So, and the color also of the gold will be coming out when it is heated. So similarly, we don't take whatever troubles that are coming in our life as a bhakta, that it is, we'll say that yes, my karmic bank balance is getting deleted. So it is getting depleted. That's good for us. And yeah, I'm sorry, Mataji, I couldn't really give you in a crisp way, but probably next time I'll try. Thank you, Mataji. Very nice question. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, there is no more questions in chat. Anybody would like to ask question, they can raise their hand.
Okay, so while I was reading, you can read it, Prabhu.
Yeah. Yeah, Prabhuji, one question is there from Khushbu Soni Mataji. While I was reading about the avatars and godly forms, I came across Balram also is one of the form of Krishna. Is Balram also considered as one amongst the avatar of Krishna?
Okay. See, we did not discuss yesterday. From Krishna, we said all these Vishnus have come. So whether it is Garbhodakshai Vishnu, Shirodakshai Vishnu, or Karnodakshai Vishnu, all Vishnus have come from Krishna. Actually, just before Krishna, there is one expansion, and that expansion is Balaram. Actually, from Balaram, all these things come. So Balaram is an expansion of Krishna only. So that way you can see. See, there's so much of philosophy that is there, but when you want to put it, they are putting it that way. But there is an intermediate step also, that from Balaram these expansions have come. Okay. The next question, Prabhu, or is that all?
Yeah, Prabhuji, there's no more question.
And one other thing, Balaram is also considered to be the Guru Tattva. And we may not know it, but whenever Krishna comes, or whenever he takes an avatar, he comes along with his associates, especially with his close associate, or his own expansion, which is what is the Balram. Balram, if you see, when Krishna came, Balram was also there. When Ram was there, Lakshmana is there. So similarly, in any avatar, if you take in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu is there. Nityananda Prabhu is none other than Balram. And Nityananda Prabhu, if you see, he came before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, established everything such that when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes, he can just start his Sankirtan movement. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is elaborately mentioned. And see, there is this is called Gaur Leela. Gaur Leela, whatever in Vrindavan Leela is there, the same thing is repeated in Gaur Leela in West Bengal, there 500 years back. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is none other than Krishna, who has come to experience the bhav of Radharani, because see, Krishna also is he is like you and me in one way, characteristic wise. So he is also having some desires, And the desire he had is that how is that Radharani is able to experience so much bliss just by taking my name, just by seeing me? She is experiencing that. How can I also experience that? That is what is desire. And then he came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just to experience the bhava of Srimati Radharani. So that is the reason why, in one way, we give more importance to Radharani. Because because Radharani is also one way Guru Tattva for us. If you wanted to go to your father, it's always going from your mother, it is easy because she is very merciful. And Guru is also so merciful. Nityananda Prabhu also is so merciful. And if you see Jagai and Madai, they got mercy first from Nityananda Prabhu. And then they got the love of the Supreme Lord. So that is the beauty about our entire philosophy, culture. And thank you, Mataji, for asking that question. Balaram ji is none other than the expansion of the first expansion of Krishna. You can say that. Then only from him these other expansions have come, which is the Vishnu Tattvas, etc. Yeah. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. That's it.
Okay. Thank you very much for asking so wonderful doubts. I appreciate all of you. I would request once again to all of you to submit or to do your self-realization and note down what are some of the things that you realized in today's class. Because our memory is so volatile, our consciousness is so impure that it doesn't want to really continue this consciousness what we attained today. So to retain that, you need to really contemplate on your self-realization and go and read Bhagavad Gita to reinforce, take the holy name chant, so like that. Okay. So thank you very much once again. Any devotees who would like to do a short kirtan, could raise your hands. Anybody? Yeah, Pavan Kumar Prabhu, please go ahead, unmute and then do it. Short kirtan.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Dhanyavad Prabhuji. Thank you for giving a wonderful opportunity.
Thank you, bro. Very nicely you have done the kirtan. Thank you very much. Please continue to do the kirtans. So it's been very nice. Thank you so much, Pavan Kumar Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranam to all the devotees. Thank you very much. See you all tomorrow. Be safe, and we'll discuss more in the next chapter. Hare Krishna. Dandavat.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam.